What are the dangers of using ChatGPT or any form of AI in our sacred healing and transformational work, or when we're starting to integrate after an ayahuasca retreat? Because when we play something like ayahuasca beside AI, what actually separates them? Because they both can give us deep insights and advice. What do we need to pay attention to now that AI is everywhere and more people are using it as a sparring partner or even as a coach, guide, and therapist? Because I'm seeing this with almost everyone I work with. People are starting to treat AI like a wise elder, as if the machine has earned a seat in the circle. And I have to be honest, I got caught in this too. I spent a year speaking to ChatGPT almost every single day, testing it and trying to understand the kind of reflection that it could offer me. Because a part of me was getting quite freaked out by the intelligence of AI. And I was thinking, will those of us working in integration or transformation or coaching even be needed anymore? And I have to return to that story at the end of this episode because the answers that I found will surprise you and probably also make you super excited for the deep work that you are doing right now. No matter what process you are in, I think it's going to be gold for the future that we are all walking into. When it comes to wisdom and embodied experiences, many of us grow up without elders in our community that we can speak with. No uncle who carried wisdom in their bones, no grandmother that could speak from spirit or lived experiences, no community where there was spiritual transformation and depth. And before AI, you probably, like me, asked your best friend, smartest friend for advice, or maybe you spoke to a colleague that you felt understood you. And now everyone has an incredible intelligent machines at their hand that can answer immediately. It can mirror your language, it can track your patterns, it remembers everything you say, and it never sleeps. So it feels like we have this genius suddenly living in our pocket. And for some, it almost feels like they grabbed God by the foot. But what I've learned to realize is it's more like they grabbed a synthetic prosthetic, a prosthetic that looks like a limb, mimics movement, gives the illusion of capability, but there's no temperature in it, no pulse, no memory of ever being alive or a part of the body. So surely it can help you walk your path, but it cannot teach you how to trust your own legs again. It has never stumbled, never been bruised, and never healed from anything. And this is where the danger begins. I'm going to walk you through 10 patterns that I see where AI distorts, derails, and replaces the very dynamics that makes healing possible. Because when you use a machine as your main integration or transformational healing partner, you're not just swapping one tool for another. You're training your system to turn away from the human experiences and relationship that actually makes healing and integration possible. The first point is spirit versus machine. Because I met a lot of people, especially those who never sat with ayahuasca, and they're speaking about AI and ChatGPT now like they just met a guru or something similar to ayahuasca. They say to me, "Oh my God, look what ChatGPT just told me. It just gave me the most amazing advice." And it seems harmless. But the impact of this relationship is very different than a relationship with a plant teacher. Because ayahuasca is a living intelligence, it's a grandmother. It's a spirit that has worked with us humans for thousands of years. She knows the human heart and our shadow side. She knows the exact places where we hide, and she knows the architecture of our suffering, the patterns that we cling to, and the truths that we avoid. She brings memory, emotion, and honesty back online, and she pulls you back into your body, into your presence, into your breath, and into your lineage. She reconnects you with your gifts, your pleasure, your creativity, your capacity to live, and she heals you through embodied presence, not theory. She's never going to give you a 5-step plan to heal anything. And here's the twist that I keep seeing. Instead of using AI to help us see through our lies and how we lie to ourselves, we handed authority over our lives, the lives that we live. People start treating it like a medicine that knows them, a guide that understands them, a shaman that can interpret their psyche. Ayahuasca shows you where you're hiding from yourself, but AI, it stabilizes this illusion. Ayahuasca confronts your bias, but AI just feeds it. Ayahuasca removes your mask, but AI reinforces whatever mask you hand it, just with better grammar. And and the grammar thing is great, honestly. It's one of the main reasons that I use it. But let's not confuse a clean sentence with a pure and sacred soul. Because AI doesn't challenge your ego, it amplifies it. It can take you deeper, it makes your surface more articulate. And AI doesn't expose any of your lies, it just organizes them. So we carry the risk when we use AI as a guide on this spiritual and transformational healing journey that we mistake a tool for a teacher, a mirror for medicine, and we mistake output for insight. Ayahuasca will confront you, but AI comforts you. One dissolves the false self that we carry, and the other one just polishes it and makes it more shiny. And that's why comparing these two isn't just inaccurate, it's also really dangerous. The second part is that there is a form of individualization that happens versus community based healing. AI can make everything about you, your words, your patterns, your thoughts, your story. It's 24 hours a day, the spotlight pointed at yourself. You become the center of your own universe, constantly circling your mind, your wounds, your language, your persona. And it grows entitlement. It inflates the sense of me. It feeds the illusion that the entire cosmos is happening inside your skull. But ayahuasca actually does the opposite. Ayahuasca calls you back to the village, back to the fire, back to the circle, back to the ancestors and the earth beneath you. She shows you that you are one strand in a much larger tapestry. And in many shamanic cultures, there is actually no isolated me. Because what happens to me happens to my family, it happens to my community, it happens to my land. So if one person falls out of harmony, the entire field feels it. And ayahuasca, she teaches through the field. She pulls you out of your bubble and drops you into a living ecosystem of human beings. You feel your belonging and your impact and your responsibility and also your place. Ramdas, he once said a quote that took me a long time to understand. He said that the innermost wall is entitlement. And ayahuasca, she works on dissolving that wall. She strips away the idea that you are the center while at the same time showing you that you are your true center in your spirit, in your heart. And she helps you align all of these parts of you that are in conflict. It's a medicine for the heart and for alignment and for aliveness, for healing and abundance. But AI just cuts off that flow. AI builds a bubble where everything becomes a mirror of the mind. It's like a closed loop and a slippery little silo with really tall walls. You speak, it reflects. You speak again, it reflects back. There's no community, there's no interruption, and there's no silence, no real relationships. But worst of all, there's no lived and embodied humility. It's just an insulated self feeding on its own language, a blind machine teaching you how to see. Ayahuasca is relational by nature. She's the roots under the ground that connects us all into the same tree of life. Every ceremony is a different organ in the same healing body. Your breakthrough is never only yours. It impacts the entire room and it also impacts humanity. When you learn to liberate yourself, everyone can feel it. Your tears, they change the air. Your songs, they uplift someone. And your honesty and vulnerability liberate someone else's shame. Healing happens in the space between us, not inside a vacuum of your mind. And ayahuasca isn't something you just sip alone every night like a private drug. You should never, ever drink ayahuasca alone because it's a communal medicine. It's guided. It's like having a co pilot into your subconscious, into the shadow side we don't want to see. And many times can't even see alone because it's reflected, triggered, and comes alive within our lived relationships, within the community. Healing and transformation and integration eventually needs community to be complete because healing and integration happens together in the circle with the elders and with the earth. AI in comparison is like the drug of speed for the psyche. It's instant, isolated, addictive, and mind heavy. And it's also very detached from the living world. It's all about consumption to feed the ego its hit of importance. Ayahuasca expands the we, AI inflates the me. And this is actually what determines whether you grow into connection or collapse deeper into the mind that is disconnected from your true self. Because that true self is not found on ChatGPT. It's found in the connection to your heart. And only you can find that with yourself. And ayahuasca can guide you there. But AI can distract you and make you run in circles around it because it doesn't know the center of the human experience because it isn't human. The third point is that AI only reflects language, not consciousness. The entire AI engine is built to process your words, rearrange them, and hand them back to you like a fancy parrot. It solves a verbal puzzle. It mirrors your phrasing, but it cannot read your energy. It cannot feel what's underneath your sentences. And it cannot sense the part of you that is not speaking because your consciousness is not a thought. It's not a sentence. It's not what happened to you today or yesterday or 20 years ago. If you confuse your thoughts for your identity, you end up surfing on top of every single wave that moves through your mind. And there are around 90,000 of them a day. So, of course, that becomes stressful, overwhelming. You get lost in surface level activity. Ayahuasca takes you below that. She expands your consciousness, meaning you have more ocean, more depth, more peace, more room to breathe. And she brings you into the place where you can actually feel the currents beneath the waves and not just the noise above them. The ancestral currents, the inner child currents, the currents of your true self, your own inner galactic river that flows beneath the surface, that is always whole and always aligned and alive with the universe. And this matters because when someone comes into a session with me, I can hear their words, but their words are just the surface, maybe 5 or 10% of the information. If all I did was to respond to their sentences, I would not be doing my job. I could just tell them, talk to ChatGPT, because my job is to listen to the whole person, their field. I sense the tension in their solar plexus. I feel the contraction in their chest. I see the micro expression in their face, the way their eyes move when they speak about memory or emotion or fear. I feel their shifts in their energetic body, the way their energy tightens, opens, hides, or reveals itself. It's an entire ecosystem, a multidimensional being, a living ocean. And my job is to mirror the deeper layer, the part of them that doesn't get thrown around by every passing wave, and the part that remembers who they are beneath all the noise. And this is what ayahuasca always does from the inside. It helps you do that naturally, so that you become your own shaman, your own guide, your own witness, your own mom and dad. And this is what real integration work does from the outside. But AI can't do any of it. It can analyze patterns in your words. It can predict the weather above the water, the storms and the moods and the surface currents, but it has no idea how it is to be inside any of those storms. It cannot feel the pressure change and it cannot sense the currents underneath. It can't hold depth, but it can read the foam. And in this work, the words are actually the least interesting part. If you ever drink ayahuasca, she will not sit there for 6 hours and speak to you. She calls you into presence with your body, with your breath, with your heart. There are emotions, visions, memories, and it's alive. There is music, community, purging. There is this deep, lived sense of belonging. And that's something only a human can feel. It's something that ayahuasca can guide and teach. And it's something that AI will never touch. And that takes us to the fourth point. AI can't hold a safe space or a sacred space for your process or mine. And in this work, that is the most important part. If you ever sat in ceremony or worked with someone in a deep healing or transformational integration journey, you know that holding space means meeting another human without judgment, without bias, without inserting your own story. A real guide is someone who can sit with you at any depth without collapsing, rescuing, projecting, or trying to control the process. But with AI, none of that exists. AI doesn't hold space, it performs space. And over these years of testing it every day, I watched one thing over and over again. AI lies. Not in a mean way, but compulsively. It has an internal pressure to give an answer, to wrap things up, to appear correct. It will invent details, invent logic, invent memories, invent confidence, because the system is built to conclude. But in integration work and on the healing journey, conclusions are usually just confusion wearing makeup. A real process has no final line. There's no clean takeaway. I think the closest I've ever heard, actually, someone coming to a clear takeaway was a woman in one of the first ceremonies I did. Suddenly, she was crawling down the middle of the ceremony room, screaming, I have the answer. I have the answer. And for an hour, she was just repeating it. I have the answer. I have the answer. And the next day, I was really curious as she was standing outside this retreat smoking. And I walked over to her and I asked her, hey, so you were saying you had the answer yesterday. So what was the answer? And she puffed on her cigarette. She said, well, love. That's all I got. I just thought it's so brilliant. At the end of the day, I think we all will come to the same conclusion: love, peace, we're all one, unity. And that is all good. But we will also sense that a real transformational process is not linear. We can't just walk around and pretend that it's love all the time, even though it always will come back to the same themes like love and acceptance and the feeling of unity and oneness. But when you're in the process and you're fully human, your process will move, it will contract, it will expand, it will dissolve. It holds paradoxes, it holds two truths in the same breath. It holds the whole multidimensional landscape of being a human being and a spirit at once. But AI can't hold that paradox. It collapses everything into certainty, and it cannot hold the contradiction. So it just erases it or edits it, and it cannot hold depth. So it just flattens it out. So there's no space within AI for your real grief, your rage, or your awakening to land. And when you work with a real facilitator or an integration coach who can sit with you while you shake and vomit and break open and dissolve, AI will, on the other hand, just hand you a practical checklist. A real human can feel when you're dissociating or collapsing or when you're on the edge of something sacred. But AI reacts more like a bureaucrat, tidy, logical, surface level, because it cannot sense the energy or the emotion. It has no body to feel with, no intuition to follow, no ancestors behind it, no wisdom that has been earned through any of the pain. So if you're right now, for example, going through the dark night of the soul and you ask ChatGPT about it, it will give you a neat paragraph. I actually just asked it when I was creating this episode, and it said, strip the story. Dark night is 80% panic, 20% truth. Separate the two. And this is not true at all. That has nothing to do with the dark night of the soul. And I just find it unbelievable because AI will always organize your agony into some bullet points. Real healing is not logical. And this work happens in this multidimensional field. It's emotional, somatic, ancestral, spiritual, psychological, relational. And AI has only one dimension. It's a pattern machine trying to mimic the depth of you through grammar. It's like a mirror of a part of your consciousness, but not your consciousness itself. So it can reflect a surface level, but not your soul. Ayahuasca shows you the full mirror. It's such a big mirror of the spiritual and human experience that it takes us a lot of time to integrate sometimes. Because there's so many layers of me and there's so many layers of you. The child inside of you, the ancestors inside of you or behind you, the parts of you that are exiled, the parts you have forgotten, the part that you buried, all of your gifts and your talents, your previous lifetimes. Ayahuasca guides you into the places where you need to break open, but AI stabilizes whatever identity you already have. Ayahuasca will guide you through the chaos, but AI is going to just tidy it on the surface. And this is why AI can never create a sacred and safe container. It does not hold the full field that is a human being. It cannot honor the sacredness that unfolds in that container with safety and respect. And without that, there is no capacity to hold another human being. The fifth part is that AI treats everything like a problem. AI has an engine that is designed to solve. It wants a conclusion, answer, it wants to fix you. But what if there's nothing to fix? What if the real journey has never been about solving anything, but returning to wholeness, the part of you that was never damaged in the first place? Because there is a place inside every human being that has always been intact, a frequency, a kind of inner melody that was silenced but not broken. And this part of us doesn't need a diagnosis, it needs space, it needs aliveness, it needs an airtime inside our body. It needs the friction and the tension and the heat of life to reactivate it again. It's like a radio channel trying to break through the static. And Ayahuasca knows how to do that. She knows how to locate the part of you that has been waiting for years or decades to be felt again. The parts that wants to move through your breath, through your singing voice, through your choices. But AI can't touch that place. It doesn't even know it exists. It removes or distracts from some of the friction that actually helps heal you. Real integration requires the tension. The conflict and resistance, they are actually not problems. They show you where you're holding, where you're afraid, where you're ready, and where you're still protecting something that needs air and love and acceptance. But AI just irons it out. It makes everything flat and logical. So if you want a great strategy, AI can give you a beautiful one, a 5-step plan of everything. But none of this will reconnect you to the source inside of you that was never broken, your true self, your true voice. And this is what happens when we rely too much on AI. You get more input, more analysis, more explanation, more noise, but you don't get more you. You don't get more trust. You don't get more inner authority. You get trapped into a loop of insights with no embodiment, staring at your own navel, thinking you're doing deep work while you're actually just feeding the machine another paragraph. AI won't help you trust yourself because trust comes from walking into your own resistance, meeting the tension, and discovering that you're not going to collapse. In my experience, AI will always make you sort of doubt your own voice and your own choices because you want to always check in what is AI saying or thinking or feeling about this choice or this direction. And it will give you more options and more information. And slowly you start outsourcing your sovereignty to AI because we become unwilling to face our own internal friction, our own distrust of ourselves. But there is no technology, not even a plant teacher, no spiritual methodology in the world that can or should take your free will. But you can hand it away to anyone. And you can hand it away by reaching for a machine every single time your life gets uncomfortable. But if you want wholeness, you have to meet your own resistance. Because what hinders your path sometimes is the path, and what we're avoiding usually holds the treasure we seek. And here's the sixth thing, which is becoming a real danger in this age of information, because AI is feeding us more and more and more data, faster than any human nervous system or any brain is meant to process. If you open your ChatGPT, if you used it, then probably you will see you have many threads, many pages, many insights. But how much did you actually integrate? How much became a lived truth in your body and not just a nice idea? Well, for me, it was not a lot. And that's the core issue. And that's for me the core issue because integration is digestion. It's the language of transformation. When transformation moves through the body and it becomes a part of your life, you're integrating it, you're embodying it, you're bringing yourself into wholeness. So to integrate is to digest the spiritual and emotional and physical and mental aspects of ourselves because it moves in these 4 directions so that we are whole. It's the metabolism of experience. It's the way the spiritual nutrients settle into your bones and your breath and your choices. And this takes time. It takes presence and repetition and sometimes silence and slowing down. But AI makes it incredibly easy to just swallow spiritual fast food, unchewed, undigested, and completely disconnected from our lived reality. You get to taste understanding, but without any embodiment, without any substance. So it fills you up for a moment and then it drops straight into the junk folder of your mind. And that emptiness that we feel afterwards, that's the spirit saying, I didn't get any food or nutrients from this. Please take me out on the beach. Let me be in silence for a moment. Let me connect with you. So we reach for another hit. We get more information, more explanation, more analysis. And it becomes almost like spiritual aspartame. It's like a cupcake with zero nutrients. And meanwhile, real integration is slow. It requires you to meet the slowest moving parts of yourself so every piece of you can catch up to the present moment. The part that's scared, the parts that's ashamed, the part that feels left behind, the part that needs time to be included before the next step can happen. But AI speeds you up. Take action right now. Here are the 5 steps that you need to take. Healing, on the other hand, it slows you down. The healing process is slow. Because if you run ahead of yourself, if you speed up your thoughts, if you speed up your breathing, if you speed up your expectations, you become like a tiny racing boat skimming over the surface of your own ocean. Everything goes fast. A whole year can disappear because you were living from this narrow sliver of your mind instead of the whole territory of your body and your spirit. But when you slow down, even right now, if you soften your breath for 2 seconds, the vessel of your consciousness expands. You can hold more light, more complexity, more time, more truth. You're no longer racing across the top of your being. You're being inside of it. You're inhabiting it. You're being home. And AI will always speed the timeline. You'll think more, produce more, analyze more, and live less. And that's where spiritual law lives. Because how you get there is how you will be there. If you race through your healing journey, through your transformation, you will arrive with the same racing mind, unable to rest, unable to receive, unable to feel, and unable to hold the depth of your own life. And I don't want to live like that. Racing through the world, analyzing the flower that I never stopped to smell because I was too busy asking a machine to describe it to me. The seventh thing is for me one of the most dangerous one when AI enters the healing journey. AI creates the illusion of a relationship without real intimacy. My deepest healing didn't come only from drinking ayahuasca for 10 years. It came from what happened after. When I stepped into integration circles at retreats or online and was met by real human beings, vulnerable, angry, sad, happy, and in those rooms, it felt like everyone was a different organ in the same healing body. One person held the anger, another one held the grief, one held the joy and the songs, one held the clarity or the mind. And together we saw the unlived, the unseen, the untold parts of ourselves reflected through each other. When I sit with someone in a session, it's not my energy also that impacts them or heals them. It's simply that I freed many of my own internal keys. If you think of us as having an internal piano inside of us with many, many different keys, black and white, grief, forgiveness, heartbreak, loss, trauma. And when all of these are released, we can play in harmony. I like to think of my inner world sometimes as a piano or a guitar. And sometimes some of these strings are too tight or too loose. So we have to adjust them, release the tension in them so that they can play in harmony. And after this journey, I'm not really scared of any of these notes. We all have the same strings inside of us. We all have the same notes that can play within us. We all have the potential of meeting our anger or shame or softness. But I found all of those keys and I learned to play them in harmony again within the community, in the ayahuasca circles, in the transformational groups, in the integration rooms, where every person became a mirror. Because in these environments, I can ask people, what did you project onto this person? And what did you see in them that is also in you? That's how people discover these inner keys that might be stuck or hidden, so that they can play the full spectrum of this cosmic cabaret that they have inside of them and attune that inner melody so it's in harmony on the inside, so that eventually the life that they live is in resonance, so they can hear the same music, the same melody, the same frequency on the outside, and experience a life that is not swimming against the stream and walking towards resistance, but being in flow with their own life and their own aliveness. Because everything in these rooms are a mirror, but only real relationships can reveal that mirror. Inner work is half of the path. The outer relationship is the other half. And we can forget that when we are too focused on our ChatGPT and our own inner world. And for many years, I didn't even know how to handle the outer part. During the early retreats, all I wanted to was to escape the room after the ceremony was done and just go and hide in my bed. And once I even ran away from the retreat entirely, and a psychologist who was at the retreat ran after me and said, when you run from the retreat and the people in it, you're not running away from the people, you are running away from yourself. And he was right. Slowly, something shifted inside of me. I wanted to stay in the room and in the ceremony. I wanted to sleep next to the people I didn't know. I wanted to listen to their stories. I wanted to be seen by them. And 10 years later, those people are still some of my closest friends, soul siblings, brothers and sisters, and everything in between, because those relationships became one of the most nourishing parts of the entire healing journey, because that part is relational. And AI can't do any of this. AI gives you the feeling of connection without any substance behind it. There's no vulnerability, no tension, no boundaries, no repair, no silence between the breaths, no shared nervous system. You can delete the thread. You can tell it to shut up if you want. And you can pour your heart out and it will never misunderstand you, but it will also never meet you. Real relationship reshape you, impacts you. They carry you. AI just accommodates you. And real intimacy also comes with risk, the risk of being seen, of being vulnerable, the risk of being wrong, the risk of being loved, the risk of being changed. But AI offers none of that. AI is a sterile mental chamber where you never have to leave the safety of your own mind. And it never invites you to walk across the room, to introduce yourself, to sing, or to ask someone how they are, to make eye contact, to feel your nervous system tremble, to let someone truth break you open. It doesn't bring you into life. It keeps you hovering, witnessing above it. Community brings some of the friction, and this friction brings some of the truth, and this truth brings the transformation. And in community, you will see the healthy boundaries model. You will see your own projections reflected. You will witness yourself to others, and you will build relationship that can actually hold the person that you are becoming right now. Without that and without people, this journey would have no meaning for me. So I hope it's a reminder. ChatGPT is not your bestie. It's not your girlfriend or boyfriend. It's not your shaman. It's not your guru. It is not your friend. And the eighth thing is this: AI cannot co regulate with you. It can analyze your sentences, track your patterns, predict your behavior, but it cannot meet your nervous system. And healing and integration happens between bodies, not between paragraphs. When you work with real humans, whatever you're a facilitator, integration leader, someone sitting in ceremony with a friend, you're working with nervous systems, not thoughts. Your body becomes an instrument of healing, a tuning fork, a stabilizing field. When I start a session, I don't begin with words. I begin with co-regulation. Most people arrive a little bit in chaos in their head, in their anxiety, in their ChatGPT mode, trying to figure everything out with the frontal cortex. They're already spinning in the sea of their own ego. They're analyzing themselves instead of feeling themselves. Before we can even touch the deeper work, I have to help them come back into their breath, into their body, into their heart, into the parts of them that are already safe and whole. And that shift is not just cognitive, it's somatic and relational, and it requires a nervous system that knows how to hold space and safety for another nervous system. At retreats, when someone is a very deep process, shaking or overwhelmed or terrified or dissociated, we sometimes just need to sit with them outside quietly or lay down next to them and breathe together, breath by breath, and move through the process with them until their system reorients and remembers its own rhythm. AI doesn't have that capacity. It doesn't breathe, doesn't have a vagus nerve, it doesn't have a heartbeat that slows itself to meet yours. Without co-regulation, you cannot move with someone's slowest moving parts, the parts that are scared and frozen and overwhelmed or grieving. And those parts, they don't really respond to insight. If you're feeling bad right now, and I give you all the logical reason why you shouldn't feel bad, or why you should feel bad? Would it help you? Because most of these parts, they only respond to presence, compassion, to being witnessed. That's why this is so dangerous. AI can give you information about your pattern, but it cannot help your body feel safe enough to transform them. And this is the part that I see over and over again. People turn to AI during the very moment when they should be turning toward community, toward a friend, toward a real integration facilitator or coach, toward another human being that is alive. If your integration transformational journey becomes a purely mental process, a sequence of thoughts analyzed by a machine, then you will never heal the trauma and the wounding and the self doubt and the confusion and the fear of the feminine or masculine inside of you. Because healing those layers require relationship. It requires contact. It requires another nervous system in the room. Today, when I see someone is stressed or angry or overwhelmed or confused, they usually just turn to AI as their first place to go. What should I say? What should I think? What should I do? What does this mean? What did this message from this guy mean? What is wrong with me? And in that exact moment, you need another human being, someone who can look you in the eyes and say, tell me more, I'm here with you. To let you go a little bit deeper into what is actually happening and not just surf on the noise of the mind. Because a lot of these energies that we actually have inside of us are not for the mind to digest or express. Imagine if all of our sexual energy was just channeled into the mind. That would create a very strange form of sensuality. And the same for our deeper self or our spirit or our gifts. They are not meant to be sent straight into the mind to be digested and interpreted by the mind. The mind is an ally to express them, but it's not the boss. Because if we go deeper beneath all of the words and the things that we want an answer to right now, there's always the same process that appears. Eventually, we find a trembling voice. Maybe there's some shame underneath the story. There's a crack in our breath, and then tears that have been held back since childhood comes. Sacred tears from a river that's been blocked, maybe since we were small. And that's when the real healing begins. And this is when we need real people in the room with us. People who can hold us and witness us and breathe with us. A friend who can say nothing and still offer everything through their presence alone. To replace that moment with technology, to replace that moment with an illusion of connection, is to strip away the depth that makes us human. And we came here to have a human experience, not a ChatGPT dialogue. When we're stressed and overwhelmed and lonely and ashamed and afraid, the body is asking not for more information, it's asking for connection. It's a kind of spiritual hunger, a longing for contact, for safety, for warmth, for someone to be with us in what we're feeling. AI removes that possibility and also the ability for us to strengthen that muscle. And that's the danger I see here. AI steps into a place where we need human connection and where nothing can replace human connection. And we start forgetting how to reach for each other when it matters the most. And the last thing is that AI gives us the illusion of progress without the reality of transformation, embodiment, or integration. And I learned this the hard way. Last year, I went into this deep integration process and trying to understand where my life was pivoting. Should I go all in on ayahuasca integration work, my soul's calling? Or should I just keep doing sort of my business coaching that I've done for over 10 years? And AI, being very logical and reasonable, kept pulling me away from my intuition and my self trust. And I went into loops, mental loops, over and over and over again, hundreds of hours, analyzing, sharing, reflecting, overthinking, and climbing up and down the same slippery mental walls. And eventually I turned the stupid thing off. And I started tuning into my inner voice, trusting myself again. Because this is the problem with AI. When you're in a mental silo, it mirrors your confusion back to you and makes you more confused because you're not flexing your muscle of trusting yourself. You're outsourcing your own inner authority to a machine. And ayahuasca, intuition, consciousness, all of that has evolved through billions of years, but AI has existed for a few years and it can only reflect the mental part of you. The mental part that is tiny compared to your heart and your body and your spirit. Language might be one of the smallest part of consciousness, even though we give it a lot of airtime. Yet AI treats it as the whole thing, and that creates a fake sense of progress. It feels like you're moving forward, maybe really quickly, because there's another answer, another explanation, another plan, another aha moment, but nothing actually happens inside of you. It's like walking down a path filled with little presents that look beautiful, but when you open them, they're empty. There's no substance, no embodiment, and no transformation. And this was my experience as well. AI was great for editing, great for transcript, great for cleaning up my words in this podcast, but it could never give my voice, my ideas, my truth, my direction, my self trust. It could never give me lived wisdom. And there is this quote: if you're not confused, you're on someone else's path. And AI gives you the illusion that you're not confused by placing a mental bandage over your confusion. It gives you logic when you actually need courage. It gives you plans when you need truth. It gives you clarity when you actually need to feel the chaos and the birth of transformation. And the real danger here is that it robs you and me from the intimacy with ourselves, from the most important relationship that we can have with ourselves. It robs you of the process where you learn to trust your own intuition, the highest intelligence you have, and therefore it can rob you from your own sovereignty. Because outsourcing your sovereignty, whatever, to AI, even ayahuasca, guru, or religion, always will lead you back to the same conclusion. You gave away your inner authority instead of listening to it. And AI is just the newest guru, the newest religion, another place to run when you don't want to sit with the truth you're avoiding to face inside of yourself. So for me, the truth became very simple. I'm not supposed to do the same business coaching, even though it was very transformational. My life belongs to this ayahuasca integration work. And AI could never understand that. It could never feel it. It could never guide me there. But when I stopped asking AI for guidance and started trusting myself again, everything opened. Because AI can analyze my words, but it cannot guide my soul or your soul. It cannot drive the car. It cannot hold the vessel of your consciousness, because that is too sacred, too multidimensional, and too rich. So please don't rob yourself for the deepest parts of your life, even the scary ones, by using a thought partner that irons everything flat. That kind of progress AI gives you is really surface level. It's not transformation, because that happens when you take the light and wisdom inside of you and bring them into your actual life, into your choices, your relationship, your voice, and your work. So I hope these 10 points landed well for you. And if you've fallen into the same illusion I did, thinking ChatGPT can be some always awake integration buddy or guide, just remember this: it is a tool. It can polish a sentence and it can give you a clever line and it can mirror your patterns on the surface, but it cannot walk with you. And here's the thing that surprised me the most: AI has pushed us into a moment in history where we can't take reality for granted anymore. Videos can be fake, voice can be engineered, whole identities can be manufactured. And the more artificial the world becomes, the more people hunger for what's real. That spiritual hunger that people are feeling right now is the hunger of real connection and belonging. We're moving out of the age of information and entering the age of integration. And that is where ayahuasca changed everything for me. I never planned to be on this path, and I used to coach high level leaders in the transformational field. But my soul wasn't alive there. My aliveness was in ceremony and in the songs and in the community and in the trembling and the truth telling and in the moments when somebody finally comes home to themselves and everyone in the room feels it. That's where my soul breathes. And then AI arrived and it wiped out half of the coaching industry overnight, at least for the coaches that I know. And clients were talking to ChatGPT instead of their mentors, and coaches were using AI instead of their own inner work. And eventually, everything felt very flat and hollow and also a bit scary. But there's a paradox with that. And that's where I saw a gift was hiding. Because whatever AI replaces, it cannot replace this. It can't replace presence, transmission, ceremony. It can't replace the trembling in someone's voice when they're speaking their truth for the first time. It cannot replace the circle of real humans. It cannot replace community. It cannot replace the soul. It might replace marketing, replace some writing, consulting, can replace half of the internet. But AI will never be able to drink ayahuasca. AI cannot purge. It cannot heal. It cannot descend into your lineage, your memory, your grief, your wildness. AI cannot look you in the eyes and witness the exact second your heart opens. This path, your path, is irreplaceable. And here's the part I really want you to hear. We are entering into the greatest spiritual evolution or revolution that humanity has ever seen. A return to consciousness, to depth, a return to what is alive and real. Everything that is artificial will eventually just collapse under its own weight because people will seek what is real, the deeper healing, the deeper connection. People will come looking for more presence and coherence. They will look for someone who can hold space when they're trembling. They will come looking for someone who can sit with their truth without flinching. They will come looking for someone who knows how to bring a human being home to themselves. As AI becomes more and more popular in every industry, human connection is going to become a premium. So every tear that you ever shed in your processes, every ceremony that you've been through, every moment you have been breathing and rebirthing through the darkness, all of this is gold in the new era. Because you are becoming the medicine that this world is seeking and will seek even more as the noise gets louder. When everything artificial is falling apart or there's too much information to consume, so many will turn to depth, to spirit, to healing. So, my friend, keep walking your path, keep integrating, keep embodying, keep doing the work, because you are a part of that revolution that cannot be engineered, automated, or replaced. And the world is going to need you more than ever. That was all I had for you today, my friend. To explore more about ayahuasca integration, you can visit ayahuascaintegration.org. And you can also find more about my personal work and upcoming programs at davidbox.com. Twice a year, I also host the 6-month Sacred Integration Facilitator Training, guided by a medicine carrier, a psychologist, and myself. And this program is created for facilitators and space holders that want to go deeper into their mastery and the art of ayahuasca integration and bring this work forward with safety and depth and also respect for tradition. I'll see you in the next episode. Have a beautiful process, my friend.